Also got my socks on still. So we're going to start this morning lying down in Shavasana kind of shape, but we'll not take Shavasana. We'll start moving straight away. So we're going to lie down on our back, blocks underneath the head, and I'm just going to draw the knees in towards the body and take the hands on top of those kneecaps and then gently start to make some nice circles. So if the hips and the groins are a little bit tight and your lower back and indeed your shoulders, this is a really nice way of working because the spine is fully supported. You get a little tilt and roll through the pelvis, so the lower back starts to move around. And you can hug and shrug your shoulders up towards your ears as you draw the knees in towards your body down the center line. As I said, you don't have to start with big circles here. Because those groins and hips are a little tight, work within what feels sensible for you to do, and then gradually nature will do the rest for you. They'll just start to open up and get a little bit juicy. And we'll see if we can take it the opposite way. So just breathing away from yourself down the center line. And giving the breath an opportunity to lengthen out as well. So bring the feet back to the ground, close to your bottom on the center line. And we're just going to draw that left knee in towards the body and slide the right heel out. So turn the thigh in a little bit, flex the foot toes towards the sky. And try and press your buttock, the back of your thigh, and calf, and your heel into the ground, just a fraction. Feel some semblance of resistance either from the floor or from the muscles in your body. And also trying to lengthen the leg away. Now, even though you're drawing your knee in towards your body, you're actually going to try and send that hip down towards the front of the mat as well. Release that foot back to the floor and slide the leg out. And just have a little wriggle through the hips. Shake out the legs a little bit. And then bring the legs together again. We'll bring the opposite leg in, coming with the right knee. Hand around the shin. Repeating everything we did before. And noticing if there's any difference in the way that the legs lengthen out in terms of how close they get to the ground. Remember, you're trying to send the hips away so that the hips themselves, the pelvis is still aligned to your spine. You're drawing that knee in. that leg as well. Bring both feet back in towards your bottom. Take your arms out wide, palms facing up in line with your chest. And we'll just shimmy the hips a little over towards the left side, let the legs come down to the right. If you're able to keep the shoulders on the ground easily, you can turn the head over to the left as well. This first one, we're just keeping it nice and easy. This top leg may or may not be touching the bottom leg. We're going to try and let the bottom leg sink to the ground. So we need to rotate the body a fair degree for that to happen. I'm just going to breathe in easily through the belly and the lower back. Try and let the hips and those big muscles around the glutes feed in towards the lower back. Just letting that all go, loosen off a little bit. Slowly draw the knees back up by just pressing the hips back down flat to the floor. So we're not really using the arms or the shoulders at all. And we'll take the hips over towards the right, let the legs go down to the left. And the first thing we wanted to become conscious of is, did we get to a similar position? Does it feel like we can rotate similar distance and angles on both sides, or are the differences noticeable? Bring the legs back up again. Again, just emphasizing the pressing and rolling of the hips down, heels back into the center. We'll draw the left leg in towards the body, take the hands, interlace them around the back of the thigh, and then get that nice leg stretch. Heel towards the sky. And try and keep the spine flat to the floor. Just press the shoulders down lightly towards the ground. Emphasize the stretch through the arms and across the chest. As you press your heel towards the sky, you feel your hamstring stretching out a little bit. See if you can contract the thigh muscle down back in towards the hip. And we'll release that foot to the floor. We'll do the same again. So remember, we're trying to stretch out the back of the hamstring. Draw the front thigh muscle, the quadriceps down towards the hip. Pulling those down a little bit. That'll help open out the back of the leg for you. And really press the shoulders into the floor. And we'll let that leg come back down to the ground. Give ourselves a little bit of a hug, so bring both knees in towards the body, chin in towards the chest, and we'll slowly lift the chest towards the knee. See if you can wrap your arms around your shins. If you happen to get a little bit of a rock going on from side to side, allow yourself to enjoy that if it feels good on the spine. I'm going to kind of continue this shape, but we'll come to the front of the mat. So we'll roll over onto our sides. And then just swing the feet towards the back of the mat. We'll move into child's pose. We'll take the block up towards the front of the mat so it's out of the way. And I'm going to have the knees, rather than wide apart, going to be more hip distance. So the body doesn't sink in through the gap. It just sits on top of the thighs. And we'll just bring the hands underneath the forehead to start with. Do try to breathe into your belly. This will provide a little bit of a gentle stretch as your diaphragm moves in and out to your lower back. Again, you just get into those sort of intrinsic muscles that and the fascia that connects through the body, the lower back into the glutes, down the back of the hamstrings. So lift up out of that. Bring the hands forwards and come into a cat-cow shape. But we're going to take that the sideways, the barrel version, rather than cat-cowing. Just rolling around. You decide which you want to go to the right or to the left to start with, not a problem. We're going both ways. Just inhaling up, and exhaling over to the opposite side and down and through. So allowing the hips and the shoulders to move around freely. We do this and the head as well. So everything is following. And then we'll start to move in the opposite direction. And come back into the center. Take a little breath from here. We'll come into melting heart. So just walking the hands forwards, pressing the hands into the ground, just working into those shoulders a little bit as we press into the shins. And try and get that nice line between the hands, the shoulders, and the hips. Just drawing the belly in a little bit. You can rest the head to the floor if it's within easy reach. You could even move the block underneath if you wanted to. You don't hold this particularly long. Just giving the muscles to work a little bit. We're not putting too much strain into that lumbar thoracic joint. And hopefully you can feel the rib cage starting to stretch a little bit as well in this pose. Now slowly walk the fingers back so we can come back up steadily onto all fours. Take a little breath from there. Draw the right foot to the outside of the right hand and just tuck the toes on the left and walk the knee back. So we're coming into a wide leg lunge. Stay in that position. We're going to draw the knee in towards the arms a little bit. And then we're going to see if we can lift up onto the fingertips. Let the hips sink, chest lift, and rolling those shoulders back gently. Bring the hands to the floor. Ease our way back onto all fours. Take a breath in on the exhale. Take the other foot forwards. Again, walking the back foot away from us as far as we can. Toes on tucked. Take a moment just to squeeze the leg into the arm. So we kind of get that reaction in the body starting, keeping the groins over the center line at the mat. And then we'll come back up onto the fingertips again. Again, we're trying to let the chest lift a little. Roll the shoulders back away from the ears. Let the hips sink. And draw that gently knee in towards the body. Almost got that sentence the right way around. And coming back out of that. Just draw the feet back and take the block now behind. Put that into hero's pose, so knees together, feet a little wider than the hips, and sit down onto the block, toes pointing backwards. Allow ourselves to roll the shoulders around into some nice big circles. And the idea that we're trying to work with here is that these circles are so big with the shoulders that we're starting to get a little flex and extension into the upper back, and opening the chest muscles around the collarbones, back of the shoulders. And we'll let that release, and we'll just take the arms out to the side and bring them up towards the sky. Palms touch, and exhale back out. As you inhale, see if you can draw your ribs down so that the chest is not able to flare up towards the sky. Drawing the ribs in, the belly drawn in a little bit. The breath comes more into the ribs. The diaphragm's a little bit more held and contracted with those abdominal muscles pulling in. One more time. As you take your hands down, see if you can bring the fingertips behind you a little bit. So to lean back a fraction and start to lift your chest deliberately towards the sky. Now you need to stay on the fingertips, or if you're able to, you can get the hands to the floor. Pressing those knees down lightly into the ground. And letting the chest lift. Now, keeping the chin in towards the chest is a little easier on the neck, but if you feel you can control lengthening your neck, out, and therefore the crown of the head a little towards the back of the neck can do. But try not to drop it down. Keep those shoulders away from your ears. We've got plenty of length in the body. Still trying to press the sitting bones down into the floor and the knees down a little bit. We'll carefully bring that chin back. The spine come back in as well. We'll come up onto all fours. Going to move into deer pose. So just swinging the feet out to my right underneath. So the shin of this right leg is running through the arch of the foot, toes are back. Trying to get the hips square to the ground and the spine long. Again, you can have the fingertips out if you find yourself leaning to some extent out to the side. Again, try and take the knees as far apart as you can, so there's a little bit of wriggling going on through the toes, and keeping the knees pressed down into the ground. So both knees want to be touching. So lift up. And just shimmy feet over to the opposite side. Allow yourself to sit back again. A little play around. Get yourself comfortable. Now, for a lot of us, we find that we're much easier to one side than we are the other. So if you find that you need to use your hands on one side, but not on both, that's fine. Actually trying to keep these hips level. So it's the high leg. You're always trying to press that sitting bone down into the floor if it's not touching. Let's lift up out of that as well. We'll come back more or less to the first side, into the same pose. Only we're going to take this right leg as far back as we can. So hopefully the torso and the thigh are lined up in one plane. We get a nice 90-degree bend here on the back leg, and then we'll just use the toes to wiggle the front forward a little bit so that we're getting closer to 90 degrees. And then again, try and drop this hip down towards the floor a little bit and use the fingertips here to hold myself up. See if you can keep the legs, so the shin bones and knees connected to the floor on both legs as well. So I'm having to do quite a lot of work to draw this right hip down towards the floor. Getting a little bit crampy, to be honest. Release. Just use the hand to move the legs around a little bit. Come over to the final side. So we start in deer pose, and then we just extrapolate really out from there. We move the left leg out, get that 90 degrees, following the body, walking the front foot forwards to as close to 90 degrees as we can. You've got a mini sort of half swat sticker coming on here. Using the fingers again, trying to press this left hip down to the floor a little bit. And keeping both shins again as close to the ground as we can. Now, if you can't get 90 degrees into these knees, not a problem, whatever you can get to. You just don't need to go any further than 90. And we can finish with the downward pressure. Bring the legs back out again, front, and give them a little bit of a shake out. We'll take the left foot underneath and out towards the right. And come into a seated twist here, and then that right foot will go across, knee high, pelvis tilts forwards. I'm just going to take the left arm over towards the right side, so twisting in gently. Try and have the foot of this high leg pressed down to the floor, and again, both sitting bones touching the ground. A little tilt the pelvis forwards, and trying to work out where sitting upright is. So you've got to think about left and right, front and back, and up and down through that spine and through the pelvis. From there as well. And take that over to the opposite side. And we'll release from there. We're just going to come back onto the hands and knees, move the block out to the side, to the front of the mat, come into our first down dog of the morning. Just walking the legs out gently, seeing how they feel. Hands right up near the front end of the mat, nice and flat to the floor. Say hello to the back of your calf muscles, and down lower into the Achilles area and the arch of your foot. Just press the hips up and back. And just taking a very gentle leg walk here. Getting used to the idea of drawing the belly in and lifting those hips up and back. Just have a little bit of a bend in the knees. Try to get a nice flat line through the hands, the shoulders, And the hips, as you press them up and back towards the back of the mat. We'll take a little breath from here and draw the right knee in towards the body. Bring that foot through towards the front of the mat. As you can see, using your hands is perfectly acceptable. We're coming into a nice lunge. Again, trying to send the tailbone down a straight line of the center of the mat. Pressing out through the back heel to a nice straight leg on the fingertips. Shoulders are raised. Sorry, shoulders are wide and raised up onto those fingertips so the chest can have plenty of space to breathe. The head stays in line. Getting some deep muscle stretching in this morning, as well as sorting out our breath. And we'll take it back into our down dog. Child's pose is always there if you need to. And we'll start to press the heels towards the back of the mat as well. A little stronger into the back of the legs. And we'll draw the left knee in. Bring that through. So have to line up nicely on the center line. Fingertips, shoulders back, nice long body. Again, stepping back into that down dog. I'm going to take the right leg this time to the foot outside of the right hand. So just easing that through. Again, we'll let the back knee down to the floor and untap the toes. We'll spin the front foot out a little bit to the side and then let the knee hang out so the foot is flexed, but strong through the ankle. And then we'll gradually start to draw that right elbow up and extend the arm up towards the sky. So pressing down through the bottom arm, pushing the shoulder away from the ear. So everything on that side of the body is down, including the hips. We're letting them sink. And then everything on this right side is opening up and stretching out towards the sky. The right knee is stretching out to the side. Try and let that top shoulder relax a little bit. Not so easy to do it on the bottom shoulder, because it's supporting us. And then we can bring the hand down, and we'll move ourselves gently back into our down dog. Again, we'll bring left knee through, left leg goes forwards, knee goes down, untap the toes. And start to draw that left elbow up, open the chest, and then extend the hand up towards the sky. Hands down, back into our down dog. Bring the knees down to the floor. We'll sit down onto the heels for a moment, so knees together. And sitting up tall, we're going to take ourselves into a gentle twist. So I'm going to take the left hand out towards the right thigh and see if I can slowly bring my right arm around, aiming to get the fingers onto the front thigh on the left, or as close as I can. Then you could always put the base of the palm of your hand against the base of the pelvis. So you're still a little bit tight first thing in the morning through the spine. Maybe rotating isn't the easiest thing to do. So you might need to warm the muscles up a little bit and get a little bit more opening in the shoulders as well to wrap the arm around. Just using the hands a little bit to sort of help keep myself in the rotation, but trying to get the majority of that through just pulling the spine round by moving the spine itself rather than the limbs. So just release from there. Let that unravel. And then we'll take it into the second side. So again, just taking my time to draw the arm around so the shoulder has a chance to clear and open itself up. Manipulate the hand around as close to that front thigh as we can. Release from there. I'm going to take the flat block just behind the toes and come forwards up onto the knees a little more. Tuck the toes underneath and make sure the feet are about as wide as that block is. Just wriggle the feet out a little bit. And I'm going to have the heels on the corner edges of the mat. So just wriggling the toes out, letting the groins open, and then sitting down nice and low. And you can bring the hands in towards your heart. Just draw the shoulders back a little bit, lift the chest, and press your arms into the thighs a little bit to help open the groins. If you need to sort of work on your balance, if this doesn't feel like a natural place to sit, you might want to lean forwards a little more and bring the hands down, just reassuringly have them on the ground. Nothing really worse than trying to relax in a pose when you feel like you're going to spring backwards automatically at any point. So just keep yourself in a happy place. Belly drawn in a little bit. See if you can actually get a sense of the tailbone and the hips sinking down to the floor a little bit more as the muscles start to give and open up and soften off. So we're going to move ourselves from that, and we're going to move into Shavasana. So I'm going to simply take the legs forwards, give the ankles a little bit of a shake out, then move my bum towards my heels, use the hands behind, chin towards chest, elbows to the floor, roll the spine gently down, and you can keep the block under the back of the head if that feels nice for you, or move it out of the way. And then when you feel like your spine is nice and long, slide the heels out, corner edges of the mat. The hands come out to the side, palms up, and shoulders underneath, and wriggle out through the hips a little bit. Feel like those legs are lengthening away. So close your eyes gently. Just let the legs roll open. Let the spine sink into the floor and use your breath, which hopefully is fairly easy anyway. Start to wriggle those fingers and toes. Allow the wrists and ankles to move as we breathe a little longer, deeper. Feel the ribs. Let the system joins back up slowly. When you feel like yourself again, stretch out nice and long. And then slide the heels along the floor. Looking after the nervous system, looking after your lower back muscles as we bring the knees back in. Gentle little hug rolling over to that right side. And take a breath in as we go down. Use the exhale to press into the floor to lift back up. And there we are, back into a seated posture. Let the hands come in towards the heart as we close the eyes, taking a deeper breath in. And on the exhale, chin to chest, belly to spine, and the bow to the floor to seal the practice. Inhale, lifting the spine back up, letting the head lift, eyes open. Namaste. Thank you for joining me this morning and using the theory of at least 45 seconds in each of these poses. So, maximizing the stretch response. Hope you enjoyed. See you soon.